Okay, very good afternoon to all of you. And today, what we are going to share is macroeconomic topic, that is national income accounting. अभी तक हमने जो भी share किया, that was microeconomics, yes, related to firm, markets, and price, output, everything. Okay. Now today, what we are going to share is about national income accounting, that is macro concept. Those who have studied in class 12th, you might have studied national income also, so it will be easy for you to understand. जिन्होंने नहीं पढ़ा है कॉमर्स उनके लिए थोड़ा सा डिफिकल्ट हो सकता है, बट दोज हु हैव स्टडीड फॉर देम इट इज इजी टू अंडरस्टैंड. ओके, तो how you might have come across a number of times in the newspaper also कि जीडीपी बढ़ रहा है, इंडिया का कम हो रहा है. जीडीपी, what is जीडीपी? Okay, and inflation in the country is increasing or not. So this helps you to understand कि हमारी कंट्री प्रोग्रेस कर रही है या नहीं कर रही है. हाउ आर कंट्रीज परफॉर्मिंग with respect to the rest of the world. Are we progressing or are we on the downturn? That you can find out through national income accounting. And it also helps the government to fix the taxation. कि किस सेगमेंट पे कितना टैक्स लगाना है, किस सेक्टर पे कितना टैक्स लगाना है, डिपेंडिंग ऑन how the sector is performing and what is the level of profits they are generating through that, and how the profit is distributed to employees of the organization. So इसमें हम बात करेंगे production, from the production to distribution. Production, if there's no production, then there won't be any employment. If employment is not there, then the salaries won't be given, and if salaries are not given, then income won't be generated, then the case consumption won't be there, isn't it? अगर आप consume नहीं करेंगे तो producers produce क्यों करेंगे? So it's a complete circle. So it's about, we will be talking about national income accounting, कि कंट्री का नेशनल इनकम अकाउंट्स कैसे मेंटेन होता है और इसके क्या पैरामीटर्स हैं. व्हाट डज नेशनल इनकम अकाउंटिंग, व्हाट इज द सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ नेशनल इनकम अकाउंटिंग, एंड हाउ द कंट्री डिसाइड्स अबाउट कि कंट्री प्रोग्रेस कर रही है या नहीं कर रही है, या व्हाट काइंड ऑफ पॉलिसी मैटर्स दे हैव डिसाइड अबाउट. ऑल इज बेस्ड ऑन income of the country, national income of the country. Okay, so this is very interesting and important topic also. So basic framework of this will be, this is divided in two segments, two classes. So हम आज आधा कंप्लीट करेंगे, बाकी हम नेक्स्ट क्लास में सैटरडे को कंप्लीट करेंगे. So this about national income, what is, how the national income of the countries determine, कैसे डिटर्मिनेशन होता है इसका नेशनल इनकम का. देन व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इज नेशनल इनकम अकाउंटिंग, हाउ द अकाउंट्स आर मेंटेन ऑफ नेशनल इनकम, व्हाट आर द डिफरेंट कॉन्सेप्ट्स ऑफ नेशनल इनकम. इज नेशनल इनकम सेम एज जीडीपी या इसमें कुछ डिफरेंस है? अगर डिफरेंस है तो क्या डिफरेंस है? जो आप न्यूज़पेपर में जीडीपी पढ़ते हैं, इज इट सेम? व्हाट एग्जैक्टली is like the parameter of measuring the growth of the country. Okay, what are the different ways through which national income in the country can be measured? What are the limitations and challenges of measuring national income, the way we measure national income in India or any other country? So we will be talking with respect to India only. Okay, so these are broader topics which will be covered during two classes. So to start with, national income accounting. National income accounting, basically income account statements, how this concept came into existence. So the economists, famous economists, Simon Kuznets and Richard Stone, both these economists contributed for the development of, उन्होंने ये first time they introduced this, they thought about this कि country का income statement भी होना चाहिए. We should maintain the national income of the country. So they were the first one who introduced. Since you have objective questions, तो वो पूछ भी सकते हैं आपसे कि कौन से economists थे जिन्होंने ये first time introduce किया national income accounting का concept. Okay, then second is, as we are talking about income of the country, so that it is a macro concept. Macro means आप country की बात कर रहे हैं. You are not talking about an individual the way we have shared about consumer, producer, firm, cost, income, utility. Now we are talking about country. So we are talking about country's income. A country में different categories के goods produce होते हैं. You get farmers, they produce wheat, okay, and manufacturing sector, they produce different products like आपके car हो गए, refrigerators हो गए, anything. Then service sector transportation हो गया, banks हो गए, they, and then you have logistic systems and others which help to reach the product to you. isn't it? So ये different channels होते हैं जिसके through product right through the production till the disposition of the product to the final, or so that is all is covered in national income accounting. So national income accounts is a system. Okay, it takes care from the stage of production of goods to the final disposal. एक पॉइंट ए से प्रोड्यूस हुआ, फार्मर ने प्रोड्यूस किया. सो फॉर एग्जांपल व्हीट यू कंज्यूम, ब्रेड यू कंज्यूम, सो इट इज प्रोड्यूस्ड एट फार्म. Okay, so wheat is produced at farm and then it goes to factory where they go for making processing of the bread, and then finally they make bread in factories. Okay, so this is manufacturing, and then it goes to from trucks and roads and other packaging and other things which is done, and finally it reaches to the dealer, and the dealer goes to give it to the retailer जो आपकी शॉप के पास होता है, और फिर उससे आपको ये प्रोडक्ट मिलता है, फाइनली प्रोडक्ट मिलता है. सो दिस इज ऑल पार्ट ऑफ नेशनल इनकम अकाउंटिंग, राइट फ्रॉम द प्रोडक्शन till the final disposal of the product. This is all part of national income accounting. हर स्टेज पे इनकम जनरेट होती है, उस इनकम को कैलकुलेट करते हैं. Okay, so and then the final income is calculated here to know about that how much income is generated, how much production has happened in the country. Okay, so national income account helps us to understand how the various transaction stages, transaction जो हो रहा है farm से manufacturing unit में. So from farm to the manufacturing unit, then to the, for this manufacturing, maybe the banker, they have to approach the banker loan के लिए, other facilities के लिए. Okay, and then manufacturer to the dealer, and then dealer to the retailer, and then to the final consumer. और ये कंज्यूमर के पास इनकम होती है जिससे वो प्रोडक्ट को ले सकते हैं. ओके, दिस वी आर नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट इंडिविजुअल कंज्यूमर, वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट कंट्री, India as a whole, because this is a macro concept. Okay, so henceforth we won't be talking about individual, we are talking about country as a whole. So it helps to understand the various transaction stages of production or services to the final disposal. Okay, or how they are interrelated, what is the relationship between farm and the manufacturing. अगर फार्मर की क्रॉप अच्छी होगी, so then in that case the, if you go for atta bread, then it will be easily available. The wheat will be available to make atta bread with the manufacturer, and then they will be able to cater in the market. So ये सब interrelated होता है, everything is interrelated, isn't it? So अगर आपने bread बना ली manufacturing base पे, अब आप उसको लेके नहीं जा पाए market में, so then it's not going, it won't be generating any income for you. So it should reach to the final consumer. So every step matters, and these are all interconnected. Farm sector क्या होगा? Primary sector. Primary sector where the basic you connect with the nature. So farming है, mining है, then water harvesting and other things. What you do is all about, but is part of horticulture है. ये सब primary activities हो गई. Then from the primary activities, then you come to the secondary sector. Secondary sector is manufacturing sector. So secondary sector is tertiary sector, services में. So all these three sectors are covered. How these sectors are interrelated. Okay, this how the economy works. Economy में ये कैसे operate करते हैं, किसका रोल ज्यादा important है, which plays more important role as compared to the other. That is what all is studied in national income accounts. Data से आपको पता चलता है, you get insights about all these parameters. And who is taking care about national income account statuses? इसको compile कौन करता है country के लिए? Central Statistical Organization. CSO is Central Statistical Organization. And then you have Ministry of Statistical Program and Implementation. इसको MOSPIB कहते हैं. Ministry of Statistical Program and Implementation, and CSO is Central Statistical Organization. They compile, they take care about compilation of national income stats. So they compile country का national income, वो compile करते हैं, और इसका benefit government and all other players they take to know about कि हमारी country कैसे perform कर रही है, how our country is performing, and accordingly they take decisions that which sector needs to be taken care more, and where should we go for working for taxation and subsidies कहाँ देनी है, tax कहाँ impose करना है, where the government should go for funding. All those things are decided based on that. How the price level in the country is there, how the production is happening, how the productivity is increasing, production बढ़ रहा है कि नहीं बढ़ रहा है, technology की वजह से बढ़ रहा है या नहीं, productivity increase हो रही है या नहीं. So all these things are taken care through. You get policy matters are decided based on national income accounts. So इसका important सबके लिए है. अगर ये बढ़ेगा, इनकम बढ़ेगा, तो it's good for us because we know if our income increases, then we will be able to have lead a better lifestyle. आप अच्छे से जीवन बिता पाएंगे. You will get a better lifestyle. You will be able to spend more. Quality of life will be better. So it is important for the households also. It is important for the government also. It is important for the policy matters also, for the taxation also, everything. Okay, so this is the benefit and the significance of national income account statistics. So national country basically country का total record होता है कि each sector में कितना production हो रहा है, कितनी income इससे generate हो रही है. Everything is recorded for this. Okay, so there are different methods जो हम आगे बात करेंगे कि different methods कौन से होते हैं जिसके थ्रू आप इसको calculate कर सकते हो. So it helps कि country क्या produce कर रहा है, what we are producing, what we are consuming, जिसका consumption एक प्रोडक्शन हो रहा है, दूसरा कंजम्पशन हो रहा है, उसी प्रोडक्ट का कंजम्पशन ज्यादा हो रहा है या दूसरी प्रोडक्ट की डिमांड ज्यादा है जिसके लिए कंजम्पशन दे हैव टू इंक्रीज द प्रोडक्शन ऑफ दैट, वेयर द कंजम्पशन इज लेस and maybe the production is more. So should we go for diverting our resources towards what consumers they want? So this is how it helps to decide about everything. Okay, economic activities, इसमें क्या क्या economic activities cover होंगी? Production. So as we have shared, farmer produce कर रहा है, production. Okay, income generate होती है for the production. So farmer is producing, the farmer is going to sell, farmer will be getting some level of income through that. Okay, so then the farmer is going to spend also. So if we are talking about group of countries farmers, same is applying for manufacturing units also, same is applying for us household also, same applies to the government also. So हर एक जो आइडेंटिटी है कंट्री में, everybody has to go for buying products, goods and services, isn't it? So this is all covered in national income accounts. Now कुछ important terms है जो आपको definitely पता होना चाहिए for this chapter. Reason being, otherwise you will not be able to calculate or solve problems. So this is very important to understand. So what is economic activity? We have already shared that economic activity क्या होती है? जब goods का एक price होता है. For goods and services, there is definite price. And when the price will be attached to goods or service, when somebody is ready to buy, isn't it? So there has to be exchange of goods and services. And these goods and services will govern some price. Reason being, it creates some value for the set of people, those who buy goods and services. So economic activity is only those activities where their transaction happens, trade happens. One is buying, other is selling. And one is buying because the set of people, they get utility through that, and the other people are selling because they get revenue through that, and that is why there's a price attached to it. Okay, that is economic. Non-economic activities are which are not exchanged. So for example, we say the farmer has produced crop and the farmer consumes that crop for his family only or her family only, then it has not reached to the market. अगर farmer ने कुछ wheat produce किया और उसको market में बेचा ही नहीं, and then they go for using it themselves, that means it is non-economic activity. So उसको आप काउंट नहीं कर सकते. यू कैन नॉट टेक केयर ऑफ दैट बिकॉज वो मार्केट तक आया ही नहीं, तो आपको कैसे पता चलेगा कि कितना प्रोडक्शन हुआ, isn't it? So non-economic activities are not included. Thirdly, that you should understand the concept of flow and stock. National income is a flow concept. Flow concept means what? You measure national income over a period of time, isn't it? So suppose after your chartered accountancy, you will start getting income. So you'll calculate that I have got how much income during a month or fortnight or maybe in a day, isn't it? So at a point of time, तो आप नहीं calculate बताओगे कि आज इतनी income होगी, इस point पे इतनी income होगी, isn't it? It is over a period of time. So that's a flow concept. So we calculate national income in terms of flow concept. Current period में जो भी transaction होंगे, आप उसको consider करेंगे. What has happened in the past will not be considered for the current national accounts. Okay. So when you calculate national income of the country, you will calculate in the current year how many transactions have happened and at what price, because वो economic activity तभी होगी जब उससे एक price attach हो. Okay, so capital goods. What are capital goods? You know, machines, plants, and equipments are all capital goods. Okay, these are used in production process. Then you have inventories. Inventories is the stock which is there, closing stock minus the opening stock. Okay, so inventories which are positive. So if the closing stock minus opening stock is more, then in that case it will be added up, isn't it? If it is less, then it will be national. National, what is national? National is about factor income, normal residents of the country. Who are normal residents? We consider normal residents are people, those who have economic interest in the in India, and they stay in India for one year, or like for 1 year. Okay. Or so that is the concept of resident Indian. Resident unit, resident, normal resident of the country are those who have interest in the country, economic activity में जिनको interest है, कि अगर country progress कर रही है तो उनको उससे benefit हो रहा है, and they are staying for more than 1 year. Okay, so that's for 1 year period of time, minimum 1 year period of time are known as resident. उनके through जो income generate होती है, that is part of the national income. Okay, so we have already shared कि national income क्यों important है country के लिए, economic policy matters के लिए, to decide the policies. Government has to decide different kind of policies. Should we go for protecting farmers more? Should we go for contributing for rural India, or should we go for manufacturing sector? या हमको green को ज़्यादा promote करना चाहिए, green companies को. So this is all decided based on insights what they get through national income. Okay, standard of living पता चलता है, अगर इन country में income बढ़ेगी तो पता चलता है कि standard of living has improved, people are leading a better quality of life. Obviously better quality of life होगा तो क्या होगा, you will be more healthy means you will get more income. You get more income means government को भी tax मिलेगा ज़्यादा, because आपकी income बढ़ेगी तो tax proceeds government के बढ़ेंगे. So it helps in different ways. National income accounts stats to the government. It also helps in allocating of resources, ताकि अगर किसी सेक्टर में ज्यादा surplus production हो रहा है and the other sector is not doing so well, so the resources can be diverted from the sector which is doing better as compared to the other, and to work on the sector which is not doing so well. So allocation of resources में भी help करता है, कहाँ पे labor, कहाँ पे capital, how to deploy those resources. So this is the importance of national income. It also helps in budget making to the government. कहाँ पे tax increase करना है, कहाँ पे आपको subsidies देनी है. If the government has to borrow more money, do we have to raise loans? अगर country में shortage of funds की, then we have to raise funds. Should we raise the funds in Indian market, or should we raise it from international market? So this, you get insights through this. Okay, then it also helps country to know about that total sum, salary कितनी हो रही है, wages कितनी है लोगों की, profits कितना है, taxes कितना है. So everything you come to know through this national income account statistics. And the most important concept in this is GDP, because GDP is what? GDP, if you look at GDP, it is the gross domestic product. Okay, gross domestic product means you're talking about, gross means it is inclusive of depreciation, isn't it? You have not deducted depreciation yet, इसीलिए तो ये gross है. Okay, domestic means जो production India में हुआ, total production in India is without deducting depreciation is gross domestic product. So and you see that if you are producing wheat, you are calculating in kgs. Yes, you are producing cloth, you are measuring in meters. You are producing milk, you are measuring in liters, isn't it? So everything has all our different units, and to have a common unit, we go for measuring it in rupees. So GDP को आप rupees में express करते हैं, because different units production होता है country में, so it becomes very difficult to compile the data. Okay, so what is GDP? GDP is money value. Money value means expressed in terms of rupees. Final goods. What are final goods? So for example, I say that what we have shared abhi, that atta bread. Okay, atta bread which is made of wheat, isn't it? Whole wheat bread, whatever you say about. So we say that farmer is producing wheat and the manufacturing unit is buying wheat, converting it to flour, or then making bread from it. Okay, so wheat farmer se le liya, and then they have given some amount of money to the farmer. But when manufacturing unit is going to buy wheat from the farmer, they will be paying some price. So let's say they have paid price of 200 rupees. Just an assumption, okay? 200 रुपए दिए farmers को, just an assumption. इससे बहुत ज्यादा होगा, but it's simple to make you understand, okay? So farmer को manufacturing unit ने 200 rupees दिया, उससे bread ले लिया, okay? Now this bread will go to whom? To the dealer. Okay. And manufacturing unit, through this, it will go to the retailer and the final consumer. Okay. It goes to the final consumer. And if it goes to dealer, then dealer will say that, okay, fine. Here, the price which will be added will be cost which will be incurred will be, let's say, 100 rupees. Okay. And now the final consumer gets it at 120 rupees. So now, if you say final good क्या होगा इसमें? Wheat जिससे bread बनी. अब इसमें आप 200 रुपीज ऐड कर दोगे, फिर 100 रुपीज ऐड कर दोगे, फिर 120 रुपीज ऐड कर दोगे. अगर आपने तीनों को ऐड कर दिया, दैट मीन्स व्हाट इज गोइंग टू हैपन कि सरप्लस वैल्यू दिखाएगा ना. 200 प्लस 100 इज 300, 300 प्लस 120 इज 420. बट एक्चुअल प्रोडक्शन तो 120 का हुआ है. सो दैट इज व्हाई व्हाट वी डू इज दैट कि हम फाइनल गुड को लेते हैं. फाइनल गुड क्या है? ब्रेड जो मार्केट में आई. We do not consider wheat, we do not consider atta or flour from which the bread has been made. Okay, so we only take the final product. So final goods and services. Okay, each and every term is very important to understand. So it is the money value. Money value क्यों? क्योंकि different units में है, इसलिए money value में आपने ले लिया. Second is about final goods. Final goods क्यों? Because अगर आप intermediate goods भी लेंगे तो इसका value बढ़ जाएगा, isn't it? So we take the final goods. Number 3, produce within a country. जो domestic है ना, within India जो भी produce हुआ, within India, okay, within a country, over a particular period of time, within a current year, okay, current year that is 2024. Okay, so current year. So these are some important terms which you have to, or the factors which you have to remember for defining GDP. What is GDP? GDP is the money value of all final goods and services produced within a country over a particular period of time. अगर हम कहें GDP 2024 का, that means we are taking the time period of 2024. If we say we are taking फर्स्ट क्वार्टर सेकेंड क्वार्टर रिस्पेक्टिवली, सो उसके अकॉर्डिंगली आप अगर एक क्वार्टर की बात कर रहे हैं साल के, तो उसी की बात करेंगे आप. ओके, सो दिस इज हाउ जीडीपी इज डिफाइंड. ओके, एंड व्हाट, सी, सिंस जीडीपी इज द प्रोडक्शन of goods and services, okay, and the production depends on what? Production depends on, अगर प्रोडक्टिविटी बढ़ गई तो प्रोडक्शन बढ़ जाएगा. yes, otherwise how do we calculate? We calculate in terms of production. How do we calculate? Quantity produced into price. Okay, if quantity will increase, when the quantity will increase? When labor becomes more efficient, capital becomes more efficient. आप नई टेक्नोलॉजी ले आ रहे हैं, और सपोज you go for training, आपने अपने एम्प्लॉयज को ट्रेनिंग दिया, कंट्री में ट्रेन स्किल लोगों की, skilled people are more in number. So what will happen? Output will increase, and this will lead to higher GDP growth rate. But अगर output कम बढ़ रहा है और prices ज्यादा बढ़ जाएंगे, तो then what will happen? Then also GDP will increase. But this GDP is not good, which is increasing because of the price. It should increase because of the output. Okay, so this GDP, where we take, so GDP will increase. Growth in GDP is dependent on what? आपके पास लेबर कितना है, कैपिटल कितना है, और ये कितना प्रोडक्टिव है. If they are more productive, GDP will increase. If they are less productive, GDP will not increase at that pace. Yes, so this is about GDP. So GDP के 3 parameters हो गए. Number 1, it is expressed in money values. Number 2, It is about final goods and services. Number three, it is produced within the country. And number four, during a specific period of time. So ये फोर फैक्टर्स हैं जो इम्प्लिसिट हैं जीडीपी में, ग्रॉस डोमेस्टिक प्रोडक्ट में. एंड ग्रो कब होगा जीडीपी? जीडीपी विल ग्रो व्हेन लेबर एंड कैपिटल विल इंक्रीज. अगर कंट्री, सपोज कंट्री हैज लेस पॉपुलेशन, तो उस कंट्री में कैसे बढ़ेगा? जब नंबर ऑफ पीपल विल इंक्रीज and machines and others will increase. Okay, so capital should increase, labor should increase, then the GDP will increase, and the GDP will also increase when the productivity increases. Labor और capital ज्यादा productive होंगे तो ज्यादा growth होगी. Yes. Now the next concept which is very important is जब लोग बाहर जाते हैं तो when they bring the income back, तो वो हमारे लिए good होता है, फायदेमंद होता है ना. When people go abroad and when they bring money back in country, so that helps the country. Yes, but people, those who settle abroad, that is not good for the country. Okay. Okay, so then the next concept is nominal. जो आप न्यूज़पेपर में पढ़ते हैं वो आप पढ़ते हैं नॉमिनल जीडीपी. नॉमिनल जीडीपी इज व्हाट? नॉमिनल जीडीपी में जैसे अभी आपको बताया, जीडीपी इज आउटपुट इनटू प्राइस. यस, अगर प्राइस बढ़ गया, आउटपुट इतना बड़ा और प्राइस ज्यादा बढ़ गया, देन ऑल्सो जीडीपी विल इंक्रीज. दैट इज नॉमिनल जीडीपी. नॉमिनल जीडीपी जिसमें कि प्राइस की वजह से हो सकता है जीडीपी बढ़ जाए, नॉमिनल जीडीपी. ओके, सो अगर आप सपोज आप कहें कि यू आर कैलकुलेटिंग जीडीपी ऑफ इंडिया इन 2024, तो आप इस केस में अगर नॉमिनल जीडीपी कैलकुलेट कर रहे हैं, नॉमिनल जीडीपी आप क्या करोगे? यू विल टेक आउटपुट ऑफ 2024 और प्राइस भी आप लोगे 2024 का, तो ये हो गया नॉमिनल जीडीपी. अगर प्राइस लेवल बढ़ा 2024 में तो डेफिनेटली, और आउटपुट इतना बड़ा और प्राइस ज्यादा बढ़ा, देन इन दैट केस व्हाट विल हैपन? नॉमिनल जीडीपी इंक्रीज होगा. यस, सो नॉमिनल जीडीपी विल इंक्रीज. बट रियल जीडीपी में हम क्या करते हैं? नॉमिनल जीडीपी से, नॉमिनल जीडीपी यू अंडरस्टैंड, नॉमिनल जीडीपी कब बढ़ेगा? दो रीजन से बढ़ सकता है. एक, अगर आउटपुट बढ़ेगा, इफ आउटपुट इंक्रीजेस, वन. नंबर टू, prices increases, price increases. So it can be because of increase in output, it can be because of increase in price level, and that is how the GDP will increase. This is nominal GDP. Okay, but हमको देखना है एक्चुअली कि आउटपुट कितना बढ़ रहा है. वी हैव टू सी दैट हाउ मच आउटपुट इज इंक्रीजिंग. टू फाइंड आउट इंक्रीज इन आउटपुट, and not because of GDP should not increase because of the price level, but because of the output. So हमको इसको प्राइस को कांस्टेंट रखना होगा. So how do we keep the price as constant? We take price level of the base year. बेस ईयर का प्राइस आपने क्लास 10th में इंडेक्स नंबर्स पढ़ा है ना, सो यू नो अबाउट कांस्टेंट प्राइस. सो कांस्टेंट प्राइस क्या होता है? जैसे कि अगर मुझे जीडीपी कैलकुलेट करना है, आई हैव टू कैलकुलेट जीडीपी ऑफ 2024. सो आई से दैट मैं आउटपुट लूंगी, आई टेक आउटपुट ऑफ 2024, बट मैं प्राइस लूंगी इस जितना भी गुड्स प्रोड्यूस हुए हैं 2024 में, उनका सबका प्राइस मैं कब का लूंगी? 2011 and 12. Okay, so price I will be taking of 2011 and 12, and output मैं लूंगी 2024. When I am taking the price of 11 and 12, that means अगर 2024 में prices बढ़ा भी, तो this will not reflect here because price तो मैंने base year का लिया है. This is known as base year. Okay, so base year. Okay, so what we do, so to know about the real GDP हमारे लिए क्यों important है? Because we want to measure production and its change over the period of time, but we do not want that this output should be reflected because of increase in price. हम नहीं चाहते हैं कि ये जो GDP increase हो रहा है वो price की वजह से increase हो. So we have to keep the price as constant. Okay, so that is why real GDP is constructed by taking only the quantity and the price is kept as constant. ओके, सो आप जब भी प्रोडक्शन लेंगे, आउटपुट लेंगे रियल टर्म्स में, सो आप लेंगे आउटपुट करंट ईयर का, so when we talk about real GDP, in real GDP we'll take output of 2024. टोटल कंट्री में आउटपुट कितना प्रोड्यूस हुआ, 3 सेक्टर्स में, एग्रीकल्चर में, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में, सर्विसेज में, 2024 में, इनटू प्राइस उन गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज का 2011 एंड 12 में क्या था. So price we will take off 11 and 12, but output will take off 2024, so that ये जो यहाँ पे increase होगा GDP में, it will only be because of increase in output, not because of increase in price level. This is known as real GDP. Nominal GDP क्या होता है? Nominal GDP में आप output 2024 का लोगे और price भी आप 2024 का लोगे. Okay, so output you take of 2024 and price also you take of 2024, that is nominal GDP. इसीलिए nominal GDP increase होता है because of two factors, या तो output बढ़ जाए या price बढ़ जाए. So it will increase because of the any of the factor. Okay, so this is how real and nominal का difference आपको पता होना चाहिए. So real GDP is calculated after deducting inflation rate. Inflation का impact हम खत्म करते हैं when we calculate real GDP. Vishnu, you have to ask the academic board of studies for this, how to go for this app. Okay. Now, when we talk about GDP deflator, so अभी हमने बात किया कि हमारे लिए important क्या है, real GDP. Now, how to measure real GDP and how to find out कि inflation price level कितना बढ़ रहा है country में. So it is important to find out the price level. If the price level is increasing, then the government has to work on it, RBI has to work on it. So it's very important जो आप आगे पढ़ेंगे. So it's important to understand कि price level कितना बढ़ रहा है. उसके लिए आप क्या कर सकते हैं? You can calculate. So inflation कितना price level बढ़ रहा है. This you can find out through GDP deflator. GDP deflator is, what is GDP deflator? GDP deflator is, आपको real GDP पता है, आपको nominal GDP पता है. So GDP deflator is nominal GDP to real GDP. Okay, so nominal GDP to real GDP is GDP deflator into 100. Now, what is the benefit of this GDP deflator? GDP deflator क्या करता है? जैसे बलून होता है ना, बलून में जितना ज्यादा एयर होगा वो उतना बड़ा होता जाएगा. Yes, this gets, so inflation का यही इम्पैक्ट होता है इकोनॉमी पे. इन्फ्लेशन की वजह से क्या होगा? जीडीपी का वैल्यू बढ़ता जाएगा और हमको रिमूव करना है इन्फ्लेशन को. सो व्हाट वी डू, वी टेक आउट इन्फ्लेशन फ्रॉम दिस. अगर इन्फ्लेशन इसमें से रिमूव कर दिया तो हम डिफ्लेट कर रहे हैं ना, इस बलून को डिफ्लेट कर रहे हैं. सो दैट इज व्हाई इट इज नोन एज जीडीपी डिफ्लेटर. जीडीपी डिफ्लेटर हेल्प्स टू रिमूव और like helps to know that the how to remove the impact of inflation. It deflates the impact of inflation to know कि किस हद तक कंट्री में जो जीडीपी बढ़ रहा है वो इन्फ्लेशन की वजह से बढ़. So it helps you to know about the level of inflation, the government to know the level of inflation. So in this case, suppose inflation in year 2, okay, अगर आप inflation की बात करें कि if inflation, for example, what example has been given over here, अगर आपको जीडीपी डिफ्लेटर कैलकुलेट करना है, आपको जीडीपी डिफ्लेटर इन 2020 इंक्रीज टू 240. आप ओके, सो दे हैव गिवन यू जीडीपी डिफ्लेटर वैल्यू इन 2 years 240. एंड अगर सपोज मैं आपको नॉमिनल जीडीपी की वैल्यू दे दूं, अगर नॉमिनल जीडीपी 6000, and real GDP is 5,000. What will be the value of GDP deflator? So GDP deflator आप कैसे calculate करोगे? GDP deflator impact is 6,000 divided by 5,000 into 100. This will be 6 by 5. That is, and this will be 120 आ गई इसकी value. So GDP deflator is 120. If GDP deflator value is 120, that means 100 होना चाहिए, isn't it? It should be 100, but it is 120. That means अगर ये 100 से ज्यादा है, GDP deflator value is greater than 100. That means ये 20% inflation. Okay, if this value, so nominal, जितना ज्यादा nominal बढ़ेगा with respect to this real GDP, उतना ज्यादा inflation rate आपको depict होगा. So GDP deflator helps you to know about the rate of inflation. So here the rate of inflation is 20% because 100 minus 120 minus 100 is 20%. So 20% inflation. So GDP deflator helps you to know about the inflation rate in the country. Okay, so this is clear. Now, अगर suppose आपको 2 साल के बीच में आपको निकालना है inflation rate, so what will you do? Inflation rate in year 2. Okay, अगर if this is given to you, if GDP deflator in 2020 increased to 240 from 171, GDP deflator increase हो गया 240 से 240 from 171, मतलब कि price level country पे बढ़ गया from 171 to 240. Okay, so that means आप क्या करेंगे? You will take the GDP deflator value 2 साल की ले लेंगे आप. 240 आपको दी हुई है, कितना बड़ा, किस हद तक बड़ा? So you will find out 240 minus 171 upon initial कितना है 171, कितने से बड़ा? into 100. That means price level country में 2020 में कितना बढ़ गया? 40.35% बढ़ गया, inflation rate बढ़ गया. Okay, so GDP deflator helps you to know about the rate, is the rate of inflation. How much percentage increases there in the price level? That is GDP deflator. Now, if you see in this case, what do you see in this case? In this, you can see here, अगर extreme right में आप देखेंगे, GDP deflator values are given. Yes. So how did we get this GDP deflator? Nominal GDP कितना है? 500. So nominal is 500 and real is 500 into 100. दोनों cancel out हो गए 100. So this is 100. That means prices are stable. 100 है तो prices stable है. Okay. 2014 में. अब 2015 में आप देखो, 15 में this is 800, nominal is 800 and real is 650 into 100. So 800 by 650 into 100 will be 123.08. 123.08 means 23.08% inflation बढ़ गया. Okay, and if through this you have to find out in which year there was maximum inflation. So आपको कैसे पता चलेगा? आप देखो 2016 में nominal GDP is 1150 and real is 800 and real nominal minus real will be how much? 143.75. So इस 2016 में India में inflation highest था, how much? 43.75%. So this is how you can find out. अगर इसमें GDP deflator value would have been let's say 85. If GDP deflator value would have been 85, then what it means? It means the country में price level कम हुआ है. If the value of GDP deflator is less than 100, then we say that the price level in the country has decreased. This means there is deflation in the country. अगर GDP deflator की value is greater than 100, then we say it is inflation. और जितना ज्यादा ये होगा उतना ज्यादा inflation percentage होगा. So that's the benefit of GDP deflator, to find out about that how the prices are increasing in the country. Definitely, Nandini, GDP calculation will affect our investment decisions also. Because if you're talking it from the household perspective, आपका भी impact पड़ेगा अगर economy अच्छा perform कर रही है. So you know that corporates are going to do well. और आपके returns भी higher होंगे if you go for investing, isn't it? Or if you talk about corporate, they will also go for investments because if the country is doing well, that means it's worth investing. अगर वो invest करेंगे तो आप लोग खरीदेंगे because the country is doing well. Your purchasing power is also increasing. Okay. So this GDP deflator is clear. Then I've already shared with you final or intermediate goods. The concept बहुत important है because हम national income में only we take final goods. We do not consider intermediate goods. So I've already told you if a baker uses flour to make a cupcake, yes, and then sells the cupcake to a hungry customer. So जिसने cupcake खाया वो final good हो गया. जो बेकर ने फ्लोर यूज किया उसको बनाने के लिए that will not be part of that is part of the cupcake. Cupcake का जो final price है that will only be counted. Okay, so flour is an intermediate good. Okay, so we only consider final goods and we do not consider intermediate goods when we go for calculation in national income accounting. That is very important to understand. So इस केस में आप देखो कि फाइनल गुड्स और इंटरमीडिएट गुड का डिफरेंस. तो फार्मर है, फार्मर ने प्रोड्यूस किया व्हीट और सेल कर दिया बेकर को. बेकर ने उससे बनाया केक. सो इफ बेकर so baker will be purchasing from farmer at 200 rupees and farmer's cost is 100 rupees. So difference, and then so what is the difference here? Difference here is intermediate goods used for this is wheat and the difference of this is 200 हो गया बेकर का प्राइस. इसमें से 50 रुपीज जो है उसका इंटरमीडिएट गुड्स जो यूज हुए उसका है. So the total cost here is this is this is 200, this is 100, value added is 100 and this is not correct. This should be 100. Farmer is selling it to baker at 200 rupees. So यहाँ पे value हुई कितनी 100 rupees. ठीक है, 200 minus 100 is 100 rupees. So this is 100 rupees और 50 rupees का इसका intermediate good है. So अगर ये 200 इसकी value है तो आप उसमें से कितना minus करेंगे? Intermediate is 550. So minus that means the total value is 150. 100 plus 50 is 150. So the total value added is 150. So the value added will be 150. That is the final good. अब next important concept है NDP. अभी हमने बात किया GDP का. GDP is what? Gross domestic product. Now we are saying NDP. NDP क्या होगा? NDP will be gross से आप जा रहे हैं net पर. If you go from gross to net, what you have to do? You have to deduct depreciation. So अगर आप GDP में से depreciation minus कर देंगे, you will get NDP, net domestic product. Gross and net difference is that. Okay, so NDP, how do you get NDP? NDP is calculated through GDP minus depreciation. You get NDP. Okay, and gross value added. What is gross value added? Gross value added is from the output you deduct all intermediate goods. Value of output is, what is our output? Value of output is sales plus change in stock. Is value of output. Okay, so sales, what is sales? Sales is price into quantity sold. Is sales. And changing stock is what? Change in stock is closing stock minus opening stock. Change in stock is closing stock minus opening stock. This will give you value of output. Value of output में से आप intermediate consumption को minus कर दीजिए. That gives you gross value added. Look at this gross value added here. Gross value added is intermediate goods. So 100 to 200 minus 100 is value added is 100 here. So the value added is 100. बिकॉज इसमें इंटरमीडिएट को माइनस कर दिया. फाइनल इसमें बेकर का प्राइस कितना है 150 बिकॉज 50 value added is gross value added. Gross value added is how much? 100. Why 100? Because यहाँ पर फार्मर की वैल्यू एडेड इज 100 बिकॉज 100 में से इंटरमीडिएट गुड को माइनस कर दिया, दैट इज 100. बेकर के लिए वैल्यू एडेड कितना होगा? 200 माइनस 50 बिकॉज इंटरमीडिएट माइनस कर दीजिए आप उसको, तो 1 से माइनस. तो फॉर बेकर वैल्यू एडेड इज 150 and for the farmer value added is 100 here. So this will be the value added concept, gross value added. Gross value added, how do we calculate? Value of output minus intermediate good. Intermediate good. Value of output is sales plus change in stock minus intermediate good. Okay. Sales is what? Price into quantity sold. So this is sales, no? 200 is sales. Price into quantity sold plus change in stock, respectively. If there would be change in stock, then we calculate gross value added. Okay, so this is how gross value added and NDP is. आगे हम और बात करेंगे gross value added की, but at this point of time, जब हम calculations करेंगे तो आप समझ जाएंगे. So gross value added is the value added at each step. GST आप समझते हैं ना, हर step पे value added होती है. Similarly, in the production, you have value added at each step. That is gross value added. Okay. Then gross domestic product and gross national income. Sorry, gross national product. GDP and GNP. Gross domestic product and gross national product. Gross domestic product will be what? Gross domestic product हमने share किया. It is the money value of all final goods and services produced in the country within a given period of time. Is GDP. GDP domestic है. Produced within the country is domestic. Okay. Gross domestic product means within India. Domestic. Okay. When we talk about GNP, GNP measures production by Indians. And it excludes the production by foreigners or foreigners who live and work in India. So इसमें GNP में आप residents की बात करेंगे, Indian residents who are contributing and foreign residents who are contributing in India, but they are from foreign. So then in that case, foreign resident will be excluded here, and only the Indian residents will be included. So measures, this GNP measures, how do you get GNP from GDP? So GDP में आप add कर दो net factor income from abroad. This will give you gross national product. You will move from domestic to national. Domestic to national. You'll move from domestic to national. Here, how? When you go for adding net factor income from abroad. Net factor income from abroad क्या होता है? Indians, those who are working abroad, and they bring back home money in India, it's factor income, so that is plus. Foreigners, those who are working in India, MNCs, those who are operating in India, and they take money back home, is minus. Okay, Indian companies establish abroad and they bring back money in India, that's plus. Foreign companies gaining profit and they take back home money is minus. Okay, so that's net factor income is factor income received from abroad minus factor income paid abroad. Paid. Difference of this is net factor income, which that's the difference. So GDP measures production that takes place inside नामीबिया. अगर आप नामीबिया की बात करें, इंडिया की बात करेंगे तो इंडिया में होगा. ओके. सो जीडीपी से जीएनपी कैसे मिलेगा आपको? जीडीपी प्लस नेट फैक्टर इनकम फ्रॉम अब्रॉड. व्हाट इज नेट फैक्टर इनकम फ्रॉम अब्रॉड? नेट फैक्टर इनकम counts all the output of the residents of the country. रेसिडेंट जितने भी हैं कंट्री की, उनकी जितनी भी इनकम है वो सब ऐड हो जाएगी, चाहे वो सैलरी के फॉर्म में हो और या उनकी प्रॉपर्टी, फ्रॉम द प्रॉपर्टी आउटसाइड दे आर गेटिंग इट, या कुछ रिटेन अर्निंग्स हैं उनकी. So this is all included in NFIA, not net factor income from abroad. Okay, so this net factor income adds to GDP of the country and that becomes domestic to national. अगर आप रेसिडेंट इंडियंस की बात करेंगे, उनके थ्रू जो भी इनकम जनरेट होगी, जब आप उसको ऐड कर देते हैं तो यू मूव फ्रॉम ग्रॉस डोमेस्टिक प्रोडक्ट टू ग्रॉस नेशनल प्रोडक्ट. ओके, सो NFIA, व्हेन यू ऐड NFIA है क्या? Income of people, of the residents of the country anywhere across the world, net compensation of employees of them, that is salaries and wages, property and entrepreneurship, that is profit, and these are about retained earnings. Retained earnings समझते हैं ना, which is not distributed, for the product, which is not distributed but used for further production process. Okay, then this is important to understand before we go ahead. एक important term है, बहुत important, that is very important for you people to understand, that production tax और product tax में क्या difference होता है. So when we talk about GDP at market price, अभी हमने बात किया gross value added at factor cost, gross value हमने बात किया, isn't it? Gross value added we have spoken about. GDP is at market price. Now to get GDP at market price, आपको इसमें क्या करना पड़ेगा? इसमें आपको प्रोडक्ट टैक्सेस ऐड करने पड़ेंगे, प्रोडक्ट सब्सिडीज माइनस करनी पड़ेगी. बट पहले आप समझिए, फर्स्ट यू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज प्रोडक्शन टैक्सेस एंड हाउ इज इट डिफरेंट फ्रॉम द प्रोडक्ट टैक्स. तो प्रोडक्शन टैक्सेस क्या होते हैं? प्रोडक्शन टैक्सेस आर बेसिकली कि आपने लैंड लिया, लैंड पे आपने एक स्पेसिफिक टैक्स दिया, दैट इज यू हैव नॉट स्टार्टेड प्रोडक्शन एट येट, आपने कुछ प्रोड्यूस नहीं किया उसमें, बट वो लैंड के ऊपर जो आपने टैक्स दिया, स्टैम्प ड्यूटी दिया, जो भी आपने टैक्सेस गवर्नमेंट को दिए, दैट इज ऑल प्रोडक्शन टैक्स बिफोर यू स्टार्ट प्रोड्यूसिंग. ओके, बिफोर यू स्टार्ट प्रोड्यूसिंग इज द प्रोडक्शन टैक्स. इसमें आपको न्यूमेरिकल आएंगे, थ्योरी क्वेश्चन सत्यम आर लीस्ट प्रोबेबिलिटी, बट वी विल गेट मोर न्यूमेरिकल इन दिस. So okay, so production tax is what? Production tax is the tax which is imposed on the land or the factory. जैसे कि लाइसेंसिंग लेते हैं, लाइसेंस अगर आपने किसी चीज को स्टार्ट करने के लिए लिया तो उसका जो लाइसेंस फी होता है, दैट इज प्रोडक्शन टैक्स. ओके, देन यू हैव pollution tax. Pollution, if you go for some establishing some unit and then you are going for अगर आपने अभी शुरू भी नहीं किया प्रोडक्शन, बट वो यूनिट जो है pollution की probability है, so then in that case you will be imposed pollution tax also. Okay, so the pollution tax will be imposed on you. Then you have product tax. Product tax क्या होता है? Product tax is about excise duty. So excise duty is imposed when you go for production. जब आपने production start कर दिया, उसके ऊपर आपको excise duty देनी पड़ती है, depending upon which kind of good you are producing, how much quantity you are producing. Okay, then you have service tax hota hai, sales tax hota hai. These are all product taxes. Okay, similarly you have product subsidies also. Product subsidy is that you produce green products, we will subsidize you. You produce solar panel, हम आपको सब्सिडी देंगे. So product specific हो गया वो, that is product subsidy given by the government to the product. Okay, so and then you have production subsidies. Production subsidy is that you will be going for producing on this land, and on this land before you start producing we'll give you subsidy across everything. So अगर आप किसी प्रोजेक्ट पे काम कर रहे हैं, so in that case if you need loan we'll subsidize the loan. लोन में सब्सिडी दे दी. सपोज इंटरेस्ट में सब्सिडीज कैसे देते हैं? फॉर एग्जांपल इफ इंटरेस्ट रेट टू नॉर्मल पीपल इज लेट्स से is 12%. So if you take a loan from the bank, they'll say it is interest rate will be 12%. But if the subsidy is offered, then they'll say कि आपको 8% पे लोन दे देंगे. So rather than giving at 12%, the loan is given at 8%. अब उसके बाद आप प्रोडक्शन अभी आपने शुरू भी नहीं किया है, but you have got subsidies. This is known as production subsidies. Okay, प्रोडक्शन सब्सिडी. प्रोडक्ट सब्सिडी इज कि आप प्रोड्यूस करो सोलर पैनल, आप प्रोड्यूस करो some mask during COVID and we'll give you subsidy. Okay, so this is about product. आपको differentiate करना आना चाहिए कि product tax क्या होता है, production tax क्या होता है, product subsidy क्या होती है, production subsidies क्या होती है. This you should understand. Okay, once you understand this, तो आपके लिए easy हो जाएगा to find out the concept of this one. Basic price and market price. What is the difference between the basic price, market price? The difference. So to understand this basic price, आप GDP जो measure करते हैं, GDP is at basic price. So अगर आपसे पूछे कि GDP at basic price and GDP at market price में क्या difference है? What is the difference between GDP at basic price and GDP at market price? GDP at basic price. So you should know about what is basic price and what is market price. Okay. So when we talk about basic price, so आपको differentiate करना आना चाहिए between basic price and market price. If we talk about basic price कैसे calculate करते हो आप? Factor cost. Factor cost is, what is the factor cost? Cost of production incurred by the factors, by the producer. Okay, factor cost. Factor cost is the cost incurred. इसमें taxes और subsidies included नहीं होता है factor cost में. So factor cost plus production taxes. आपको पता है production taxes क्या होते हैं? Minus production subsidies. Because what is the impact of production taxes? Production tax, अगर tax impose करेंगे, so then in that case what will happen? This price will increase, ना? If the production taxes are, so that is why it is plus. Production subsidies का impact क्या होगा? If the government offers subsidies, price will reduce. So that is why it is minus. ओके, सो प्रोडक्शन सब्सिडी को आप माइनस करेंगे, प्रोडक्शन टैक्स को आप ऐड करेंगे फैक्टर कॉस्ट में, दैट विल बी द टोटल बेसिक प्राइस. तो जीडीपी बेसिक प्राइस इज अबाउट व्हाट? जीडीपी एट बेसिक प्राइस विल बी एट एक्सक्लूड एनी टैक्स. प्रोडक्ट टैक्स को एक्सक्लूड करेगी, प्रोडक्ट सब्सिडीज को एक्सक्लूड करेगी. जीडीपी एट बेसिक प्राइस विल एक्सक्लूड, इसमें आप देखो प्रोडक्ट टैक्स और प्रोडक्ट सब्सिडी नहीं है बेसिक प्राइस में. But when we talk about GDP at market price, इसमें product tax और product subsidies को आप include करते हैं. Okay, so when we talk about this, so basic price and market price difference क्या है? Basic excludes any taxes on product the producer receives. Product पे जितने भी उसको taxes impose होते हैं या subsidies मिलती है, that is not included here. Okay. Lower the price. So in basic price is the price without taxes. It is price is without, basic prices without the product taxes and subsidies. Okay, so this is the relationship between factor cost and basic price. Basic price and market price. So market price में क्या होगा? Market price में basic price प्लस प्रोडक्ट टैक्स भी आ गया और प्रोडक्ट सब्सिडीज माइनस कर दी. So this is the difference between product tax, between the factor cost and the market price. Okay. नो नो, एमएनसी का कंट्रीब्यूशन है नंदिनी. एमएनसी जो प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं इंडिया में, जो एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेट कर रहे हैं, उनकी तो इनकम जनरेट हो रही है. सो दैट इज कमिंग बैक टू द कंट्री ओनली, इजंट इट? सो दैट्स एडिंग ऑन. अब आप देखिए, इतनी सारी एमएनसीज इंडिया में हैं, लोग काम करते हैं, उनको सैलरी मिलती है, दे स्पेंड इन द कंट्री. सो दैट क्रिएट्स एम्प्लॉयमेंट. एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट, गवर्नमेंट इम्पोजेस टैक्सेस ऑन दैट, दैट्स आल्सो पार्ट ऑफ इट. ओके. सो डेफिनेटली एमएनसीज का बेनिफिट है नेशनल इनकम में. बेसिक प्राइस एंड मार्केट प्राइस डिफरेंस यू अंडरस्टूड. सो आप जो जीडीपी मेजर करते हैं, दैट इज, यू मे कम अक्रॉस कि बेसिक प्राइस पे करते हैं. बेसिक प्राइस क्या होगा? बेसिक प्राइस में आप प्रोडक्शन टैक्सेस, फैक्टर कॉस्ट पे कैलकुलेट होगा, नंबर वन. नंबर टू, यू विल बी टेकिंग प्रोडक्शन टैक्सेस एंड यू विल रिड्यूस, डिडक्ट प्रोडक्शन सब्सिडीज. बट जब आप मार्केट प्राइस की बात करेंगे, मार्केट प्राइस में आप बेसिक प्राइस के साथ साथ प्रोडक्ट टैक्स और प्रोडक्ट सब्सिडी को भी कंसिडर करेंगे. दैट मीन्स मार्केट प्राइस विल बी हायर देन द बेसिक प्राइस, बिकॉज बेसिक प्राइस में आपने प्रोडक्ट टैक्स और प्रोडक्ट सब्सिडीज को इंक्लूड नहीं किया, बट मार्केट प्राइस में आपने प्रोडक्ट टैक्स और प्रोडक्ट सब्सिडीज को भी इंक्लूड किया. सो दैट इज वाई बेसिक प्राइस, if GDP is quoted at basic price, its value will be less than GDP quoted at market price. Okay, if GDP is quoted at market price, that will value will be different than the GDP calculated at basic price. That's the difference between GDP market price and GDP at the basic price. So this, if they ask you, अगर आप question आ गया with n number of options, so you should be able to understand कि जब प्रोडक्ट टैक्स, प्रोडक्ट सब्सिडी, ऑब्वियसली टैक्स को हम प्लस क्यों करते हैं मार्केट प्राइस में? बिकॉज व्हाट इज द इम्पैक्ट ऑफ टैक्स? अगर सपोज किसी गुड का प्राइस 100 रुपीज है, if we say सपोज किसी गुड का प्राइस 100 रुपीज है, उस पर अगर 10% टैक्स इम्पोज कर दिया, तो इसका प्राइस क्या हो जाएगा? 110. सो टैक्स रिजल्ट्स इन इंक्रीज इन द प्राइस ऑफ द गुड. ओके. और रादर देन दिस, इफ गवर्नमेंट गोज फॉर ऑफरिंग 100 रुपीज का प्राइस है and government says we'll offer you the subsidy at the 10% rate, 10% rate with subsidy, so the price will go down to 90 rupees. Yes, so subsidy reduces the price and taxes increases the price. इसीलिए हम जब कैलकुलेशन करते हैं फैक्टर कॉस्ट से, फैक्टर कॉस्ट क्या है? फैक्टर कॉस्ट is the cost incurred by the producer to produce goods and services. Okay, in this factor cost we add, when we talk about market price, when we talk about market price, तो हमको क्या करना पड़ेगा? इसमें बेसिक प्राइस, इस बेसिक प्राइस में क्या इंक्लूडेड है? प्रोडक्शन टैक्स ऐड होगा और प्रोडक्शन सब्सिडीज माइनस होगी. आफ्टर दैट, इन दिस वी ऐड प्रोडक्ट टैक्स एंड वी डिडक्ट प्रोडक्ट सब्सिडीज. जब आप इसमें से डिडक्ट करेंगे तब आपको मिलेगा मार्केट प्राइस. सो इसीलिए मार्केट प्राइस इज ग्रेटर देन दी basic price. Okay, so factor cost, difference between factor cost, basic price. Factor cost में indirect taxes और subsidies inclusive नहीं होता है. Okay, इसमें basic price में we include what? We include production tax and production subsidies. Market price में हम basic price plus product tax and subsidies को include करते हैं. So that's the difference between this. Okay, now in this you see, this is GDP at factor cost. India ka GDP at factor cost, if you see over here, you can see that GDP at factor cost. अब इसमें एग्रीकल्चर, फॉरेस्ट्री एंड फिशिंग, ये क्या हो गया? आपके प्राइमरी सेक्टर. दिस इज प्राइमरी सेक्टर. माइनिंग एंड क्वेरिंग इज आल्सो प्राइमरी सेक्टर. So 1 and 2 are primary sector. प्राइमरी सेक्टर से क्वार्टर वाइज इन्होंने दिया है, प्रेजेंट क्वार्टर एंड प्रीवियस ईयर क्वार्टर. ओके, सो 131 था वैल्यू प्रोडक्शन, एग्रीकल्चर, फिशिंग एंड फॉरेस्ट्री एंड माइनिंग एंड क्वेरिंग 25, एंड दिस इज 24. दैट मीन्स व्हाट? माइनिंग एंड क्वेरिंग में इनकम कम हो गई, output has decreased, and in case of agriculture, forestry and fishing, production has increased. So this will help government to decide, help to frame the policy कि अगर agriculture forestry में increase हो रहा है, that is good, but mining and quarrying में कम क्यों हो रहा है? Why is it decreasing? So to find out the reason and work on it and to propose the policy matters, so this is how it helps. Okay, and manufacturing sector, if you see, manufacturing is which sector? Electricity, water, construction, trade, hotels and services. So manufacturing will be secondary sector. Then electricity and other will be service sector. Okay, service sector. So this is about primary sector plus secondary sector plus tertiary sector. तीनों में कितना total production हुआ, उसकी value आ गई ये GDP at first. And on the extreme right, if you see, you can see the change, percentage change. Last quarter से इस quarter में बढ़ा कि नहीं बढ़ा? If it has increased, by how much it has increased? Okay. So अगर ये बढ़ रहा है, if it is increasing, then it's good for the country. But if it is decreasing, okay, if it is decreasing, that means you have the government has to work on कि ये कम क्यों हो रहा है. So you can see here this is decreasing here. You can see here this is decreasing. No, this has decreased 24, and rest all have increased. So that is why the impact is here. So government को policy matters में देखना पड़ेगा कि अगर ये कम हो रहा है तो क्यों कम हो रहा है, how to work on it. So this is how it is decided. Okay, so this is GDP at factor cost, जिसमें आप देखो कि taxes और subsidies को include नहीं किया. Now NDP at factor cost. NDP at factor cost, what is the difference between, अभी तक हमने बात किया GDP at market price. Okay, suppose one thing before we go ahead, GDP at market price और GDP at factor cost में difference क्या है? What is the difference between GDP at market price and factor cost? If we go from GDP at market price to factor cost, आपको क्या deduct करना पड़ेगा इसमें से? You have to deduct minus net indirect taxes. Net indirect taxes क्या होते हैं? Net indirect taxes are indirect taxes minus subsidies. Okay, if you deduct from this, then you get factor cost. Why we do this? हम ऐसे क्यों करते हैं? Because suppose अगर यहाँ पे market price quote हो रहा है किसी specific industry की products का, let's say it is quoted at 200 rupees. Market price है 200 rupees. अगर government of India has imposed, जब इसका production हो रहा था, let's say production was at 150. अगर government ने impose कर दिया tax of rupees, let's say 60 rupees or 50 rupees. अगर गवर्नमेंट ने प्रोडक्शन पे 50 रुपीज का टैक्स इंपोज कर दिया, सो द फाइनल प्राइस ऑफ द गुड विल बिकम 200. कॉस्ट उसकी कितनी थी? 150. 50 रुपीज उसका हो गया टैक्स, सो द मार्केट प्राइस ऑफ द गुड विल बी 200 रुपीज. सो टैक्स विल इंक्रीज द प्राइस ऑफ द गुड. दैट इज व्हाई वी ऐड नेट इनडायरेक्ट टैक्सेस. सब्सिडी, अगर गवर्नमेंट सेज दैट आपकी कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन 150 है, हम आपको 50 रुपीज का सब्सिडीज दे रहे हैं, सो इट विल बिकम, व्हाट विल बी द फाइनल प्राइस ऑफ द गुड? Final price will be 150 rather than 200. तो price कम हो जाता है. So subsidies. So how do we go from market price to factor cost? What is the difference between the market price and the factor cost? Difference between the factor cost and the market price is GDP minus NIT minus GDP at market price to GDP at factor cost is minus net indirect taxes. If you go this way, it will be plus net indirect taxes. Net indirect taxes होता क्या है? Indirect taxes minus subsidies. Okay, indirect taxes minus subsidies is net indirect taxes. Factor cost से market price जाना होगा आपको, तो इसमें आप प्लस कर देंगे because market price बढ़ जाएगा ना. Market price will be greater than the factor cost. Okay, so this is GDP at factor cost and market. उसी तरह से अगर आपको NDP निकालना है, NDP at factor cost. Suppose you have GDP at market price. आपको फाइंड करना है NDP at factor cost. NDP at factor cost will be gross. से net आप जा रहे हैं, तो what you have to do, you have to deduct depreciation. Gross से net के लिए, फिर market price से factor cost. That means minus net indirect taxes. So market price to factor cost. तो अगर आप ये दोनों करेंगे तो आपको क्या मिलेगा? Value of NDP at cost. Okay. And what is NNP at factor cost? Net national product at factor cost. That will be NDP at factor cost plus net factor income from abroad. NNP at factor cost will be net factor domestic से national जा रहे हैं ना. So that means you have to add net factor income from abroad. Okay, so if you do this, then you will get the value of NNP at factor cost. Net factor income from abroad मैंने आपको बता दिया है. Factor income received from abroad minus factor income paid abroad. जो आपको मिल रही है बाहर से और जो आप दे रहे हैं बाहर, spend कर रहे हैं, that is minus. Okay, so this is how national income of the country can help the government also to decide. Then the other important concept is personal income. Okay, okay. So in this case, first, what is important for you is to understand that what is the relationship between I'll tell you three basic mantras, okay? Three mantras to understand the conversions, okay? So when you go from, see, GDP at market price is what you see in the newspapers and other. But national income is NNP at factor cost, okay? So this is gross to net, domestic to national, market price to factor cost. We'll go for converting one by one to make you understand. Gross to net, you know, gross to net to convert. So these are three mantras of national income accounting. Gross to net is minus depreciation. Okay, gross to net is GDP, we are converting GDP at market price to NNP at factor cost. Gross domestic product at market price to net national product at factor cost. Gross domestic product at market price to net national product. This is national income. Okay, so when we have to convert from gross to net, what we do first and the foremost, we'll convert gross to net. That is minus depreciation. And from net to gross, you will go for plus depreciation. This is rule number one. Okay, so your G will get converted into N. Then second is domestic D to national. Domestic is what? Domestic to national. National means India plus rest of the world. And domestic means within India. That means domestic to national, we say that plus NFIO, net factor income from abroad. Net factor income from abroad minus net factor income from abroad. Factor income received from abroad, factor income paid abroad. Difference of this. This is rule number 2 from domestic to national. Rule number 3, market price, GDP at market price to GDP at factor cost. Market price to factor cost is minus net indirect taxes. So market price to factor cost is minus indirect taxes. If this way you go, plus net indirect tax. Okay. So this is what are the 3 basic rules of national income accounting. अगर आपने ये अच्छे से समझ लिया, if you understand this, then you can solve any problem of national income accounting. So this is what is important for you to understand. Okay. Gas cylinder subsidy, we are not getting subsidy on gas cylinder nowadays. You are getting only on this solar panel. Solar panel, you're getting subsidies. You're not getting on gas cylinders. Government has removed subsidies on those. So now we will be talking about personal income. National income is, you understood national income? National income is NNP at factor cost. Okay, national income. So personal income. Now, national income is the income of the country. Personal income is income of the households. Or, okay, so in this, what we do in this case, personal income from personal income is national income plus income received from, one more thing you should understand. There are 2 categories of income which adds, okay, in your personal income. So personal income is, one is earned income and other is received but not earned. You haven't earned it, but you got some money, okay? So you have received some amount of money, but you have not earned it. One is you earn, and other is that you haven't earned it, you have not worked for it, but still you have got some. आपने कुछ किया नहीं है, but उसके बाद भी आपको X amount of money मिला है. That is not earned, but received. Earned is you have worked, आपने कुछ contribute किया, in return you have been paid. Okay. So if you contribute and then you get paid is earned. So personal income is national income plus income received but not earned, and income earned but not received. Okay. So whatever you received, but you have not worked for it, that is your added up in your total income. And what you have earned, but you didn't get it, that would be minus from your income. Isn't it disposable income? So personal income is what? Personal income is income in which you add all transfer payments. Received but not earned means transfer payments. So transfer payments are added. Transfer payments are which you have received but not earned. For example, in India, members of the family, those who have gone abroad, okay, they send money back in India to their family members. Once they send money back to their family members' income increases. Yes. So that is added up in the personal income. So in personal income, you include income which is not earned. But in national income, we do not include income which is not earned. Okay. Only earned income is included in national income. But in personal income, you include income which is not earned also. So now what we have to do, this personal income is the income of the households. Household. So from this, we have to deduct income we have to deduct of government, and we have to deduct income of corporate. Then only from the national income, we have to deduct income of government and income of corporate. Then only we'll get income available with the households. So what we do here, national income minus undistributed profit. Undistributed profits are what? Undistributed profits, there's certain quantity of profit that what firms gain, they do not distribute. They are retained earnings with the firms. Okay, so they are not distributed. So this is basically income of the firm only. So this is undistributed profit as corporate income. So that is minus. Net interest payments made by households. So households, those who pay, they pay to the government or to the corporate. So that is also minus. Okay. Then corporate tax. Corporate tax is the part of the income from which they pay the tax. So corporate tax is also minus. Transfer payments to households. When the corporate and government gives some money to people and for which they are not working, then in that case, this is known as transfer payments. What are transfer payments? Transfer payments are the payments which are made to suppose there are A and B player. This A player has not contributed at all, but B gives X amount of money to A, considering that A needs money, A is in need of money, and A cannot go for getting money from somewhere, and B says that I don't want my money back, you can use my money. So this is transfer payment to A, because A has not done anything for B, but B has contributed for A. So these transfer payments to households add up to income. Yes. So this is what is added. So what is important for you to remember, the difference between national income and personal income. Number one, national income is the income of the country. And this includes only earned income. Earned income. Personal income is income of the household sector. Since this is income of the household sector, they get some transfer receipts. Transfer receipts means they get some subsidies, they get some allowances from the government without doing anything. So that transfer receipts will be added up. Here we do not add up. We do not add. Here we do not add transfer receipts. For national income, we do not add. So for national income, you do not add transfer receipts. It's not added. But in personal income, we add transfer receipts. We deduct corporate income. And we also deduct government income. National income, from national income, we deduct, I'm sorry for this, corporate income and government income. So if you deduct this, then you get personal income. So what is important to remember in this is, national income is not the sum of personal income, because personal income includes transfer payments. Pension, which is given to a person without rendering services, is transfer payments. These are excluded from national income. So transfer payments are not included in national income, but transfer payments are included in personal income. So not all national income accrues to individuals as their personal income. Okay. Whatever is earned is not added to the personal income. It can be part of the government. It can be part of corporate. So entire national income of the country is not to the individuals. It can be to the corporate. It can be to the government. So that's why both ways you have to understand. So you should understand the difference between personal income and private income. आपको personal income और private income में Sorry, national income and personal income में difference आपको पता होना चाहिए. You should understand the difference between national income and personal income. You should understand the difference between factor payments and transfer payments. Factor payments and transfer payments. What are factor payments? Factor payments are wages, salaries, profits, okay, rentals are part of factor payments. Transfer payments are payments which are pension, subsidies, okay, any kind of allowance given without working for that is okay, any kind of allowances given is all part of personal income. Private income, what is private income? Private income is scholarship, absolutely right, Vidhan. Now, private income is the income which is to the corporate, okay, corporate plus household, okay, so that's about the private income. So private income is income that is the income accruing to the private sector. Private sector is the corporate people, okay, so to the corporate sector, income from net domestic product accruing to the private sector, net factor income from abroad. So whatever they get it from abroad, national debt interest, if government is taking some debt and that on that the government pays interest, so that is a national debt interest which is included in private income. Then any subsidies or any benefits which government is giving, current transfers, that is also added up in corporate income, and any kind of transfer payments received from rest of the world is all added in private income. So private income also includes transfer receipts, except national income, personal income and private income will include transfer receipts, but national income will not include transfer receipts. So what is the difference between personal income and private income? Personal income is the income of households, and private income is the income of corporate, private sector. So in this private income, we include what? The income accruing to the private sector, total income accruing to the private sector, plus income received from abroad, plus interest on debt. When these corporate, they lend money to the government and in return they get interest on that. Government gives them any kind of subsidies or any kind of allowances, that is also added, and any kind of transfers they receive from rest of the world. So that's about the private income. So you should know the concept of personal income, you should know the concept of national income, you should know the concept of GDP. You should be able to differentiate between market price and factor cost. You should understand the difference between GDP and gross value added. Okay, you should understand the concept of basic price. You should understand the concept of factor cost and market price. Why basic price, GDP at basic price is less than at market price. What is the difference between production tax, product tax, production subsidies and product subsidies? That you should know about. Okay, so private income, we have already shared what exactly is private income. But to understand private income, you can further see this. When you have to calculate private income, you can have national income. You know, national income is NNP at factor cost. Okay, income from domestic product going to the government, you deduct the income of the government and add transfer income. So that will give you the private income. There are different ways to calculate private income. So private income can be calculated by factor income, transfer income receipts, and income from the rest of the world. Okay. Private income you can also calculate by factor income accruing to the private sector. This we have shared. How to find out private income from personal income? In personal income, you add corporate tax and undistributed profit, you will get private income. Because personal income is excluding corporate tax and undistributed profit. And these two are given from the income of the corporate sector. Yes, corporate tax and undistributed profits are part of the income of the corporate, no? So if you add these two, that will become private income. So in this case, if you have to calculate the personal income and private income, how will you calculate personal income and private income? What are the components which are given to you? So personal income will be what? Personal income and private income if you have to calculate. How will you calculate personal income and private income? NDP at factor cost is given to you. Okay. NDP at factor cost. And so how do we calculate personal income? If you look at the last. So personal income is what? National income. National income is what? NNP at factor cost. What is given to you? They have given you NDP at factor cost. Okay. Plus, they have given you net factor income from abroad. So you add these two, you will get NNP at factor cost. So you have NNP at factor cost. You add in this, you deduct in this undistributed profit. From this, you deduct undistributed profit, net interest payment by households minus corporate tax. So you have NDP plus NFIA. So this becomes 8,200. This is NP at factor cost. Now you minus this undistributed profit. You have to minus corporate tax. You have to minus. Then what you have to minus? Interest paid by households or interest received by households. You have to minus net interest payments by households. Net interest payments by household. Difference of this is, how much is this? 300. So minus 300. Okay. And then transfer income to be added or not? Transfer payments to the household from firms and corporate. So net interest payments by household, corporate tax, and plus transfer payments to households from firms. Transfer payments by transfer income. So transfer income to be added. Once you add these, so 300 and 300 will cancel out. This and this will cancel out. This 500 and 1,000. So you minus these 500 and 1,000. 1,500 you minus from 8,200. That gives you personal income. Okay. In this personal income, you add this undistributed profit and corporate tax, you get private income. So this is how you can calculate income, personal income, private income, and any question given to you, if you know the concept, if you know the basic concept, you can calculate, you can do any calculation in that case. Okay. So this is about income. Then you have personal disposable income. What is personal disposable income? Disposable income is the income which is available with you to either to consume or to save. Yes. So to calculate personal disposable income, what is it? It is actually the income available to households and non-corporate business groups after deducting all your tax liabilities. Whatever tax you have to pay, you deduct that. And whatever income is available to you, to the household sector and to the non-corporate business units, that is the personal disposable income. Income to the households and non-corporate units, deducting all kind of tax obligations of the government, will result in what? Will result in personal income. So this personal income is equal to disposable income disposable income, which you can consume or you can save. And this is personal income. You know how to calculate personal income. From personal income, you deduct all taxes imposed and non-tax payments. Okay. So this you have to deduct. Personal non-tax payments. What do you mean by non-tax payments? This non-tax payments. So suppose say let's say that the country's in disposable income, let's say the personal income in the country is 10,000. Personal income is 10,000. Personal income tax, let's say, is 500. Is let's say 500. Okay. So personal tax, income tax is 500. And non-tax payments are that you have raised from someone and now you are liable to pay. आपने कहीं से raise किया है पैसा and now you have to pay. So this is non-tax payments, which are scheduled payments which you have incurred in the past और आपको pay करना है. So let's say it is further 1,000. Okay, so 1,500 you have to minus from this. 1,000 you have to minus 1,000, 1,500. So to minus 1,500 from this 10,000, that will give you the disposable income. Okay, so this is how disposable income is calculated by using, you can calculate by using personal income. Now, talking about circular flow, we have shared that economy is a complete circle. Yes, it's a complete circle where the production happens. And we said that national income accounting takes care about from production to disposition. So production of goods and services, we have seen that once you produce goods and services, at each step, certain values added. From farm to factory, from factory to the warehouse, from the warehouse to the final consumer. So value is added at each step. So that's about production of goods and services. So once you produce goods and services, then what will happen? Those goods which are produced, there are certain people, those who have contributed for the production, there are factors of production. So here there are factors of production. And these factors of production are land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. Okay, so these are factors of production. So these factors of, when you start production, then you need land, you need people to work on that, you need capital, you are the entrepreneur. So all these players, when they contribute, then production happens. Okay, once the production is done, then those factors of production, they get income. If they are involved here, they get income. So they'll get income. Once they get income, so the income distribution happens here. Income distribution is land will get rent, labor will get wages, capital will get interest, and the entrepreneur will get profit. So they get income. Here they produce, here you get income. So this is about output. This is have income. Then you spend. So this is about expenditure. So these are three parameters of national income accounting to calculate national income accounts in the country. You can calculate by output method, you can calculate by income method, you can calculate by expenditure method, and you will get almost the same value. So national income in the country is calculated by three methods: output method, income method, and expenditure method. And by these methods, you can get the value which is almost same for the country's national income. Okay. Then you have another very important concept, that is national disposable income. Like we have shared personal disposable income. Similarly, there is national disposable income. So when we talk about national disposable income, how much is the maximum income available to the country that the country can go for afford to spend on consumption of goods and services? How much disposable income countries having to dispose for goods and services for consumption, not for investments. Okay. So it should not be at the cost of sacrificing your assets or creating any liabilities. So country के पास कितनी disposable income है जो country consumption के लिए spend कर सके, but without raising loan, without increasing liabilities. Okay. So what is the difference between personal disposable income and national disposable income? Personal disposable income is income of the household which they can dispose of for consumption or for savings or any purpose. Okay. National disposable income is the income of the country. And this can be used for consumption of goods and services within the accounting year. And you need not go for raising funds. When you do not need to raise funds to meet your consumption, that part of income is known as disposable income. जो country अपने expenses को meet करने के लिए meet कर सकती है through national disposable income without raising loans is national disposable income. So that's the significance of this national disposable income. So why we are not only sharing about national income, personal income, we are also sharing national disposable income. So national disposable income can be gross or net. If we go for gross, that means it is inclusive of depreciation. If we go for net, it is excluding depreciation. So net national disposable income, if we talk about net national disposable income, that is NNP at factor cost, net national product at factor cost, net indirect taxes. That means you are moving from NNP. This is NNP at market price. Okay, these two together becomes NNP at market price. So this is NNP at market price. Net current transfers from the rest of the world. This, since it is disposable, so there will be current transfers also. So current transfers will also be added. I have already shared what are transfers. Transfers are which are not earned. Transfers are not earned, but it adds on value. It adds income. Okay, it adds income. That is national disposable income. So this national disposable income, you can also find out by taking NDP at factor cost. In this, you need to add NFIA, net factor income from abroad, plus you have to add net indirect taxes, plus you have to add net current transfers from rest of the world. Transfers. Net current transfers are which are not earned but received. Income not earned but received is part of net current transfers. Okay, so from the rest of the world. Gross national disposable income would be net national disposable income plus depreciation. So when you add in this net national disposable income, you add depreciation, that becomes gross national disposable income. So this is what we have covered, and I'll go for just a recap so that you can understand. If you want, we can share some concept from your study material also. You may read from your study material and can go through it. There are numericals given. If I give you simple example of numerical, I've already told you what you should know about is conversions. Three basic rules you should understand here. For numericals, you should understand three basic rules. That first, from GDP to NNP, from market price to factor cost. How will you convert this GDP to NNP at factor cost? That's if you know these three basic rules. Gross to net, domestic to national, and markets to factor cost. If you know these conversions, you can solve any numerical. Gross to net, you know, is minus depreciation. If you go this way, this will be plus depreciation. If you go from domestic to national is plus NFIA, net factor income from abroad. If you go from national to domestic, minus net factor income from abroad. If you go from market price to factor cost, minus net indirect taxes. If you go from factor cost to market price, plus net indirect taxes. Okay, if you know these three basic rules, and if I ask you then that you have been given GDP at market price and you have to find out NDP at factor cost. So how will you convert? GDP at market price is given and you have to find out NDP at factor cost. That means you have to convert gross to net. That means minus depreciation. Then you have to convert market price to factor cost. That means minus net indirect taxes. If you do these two, you will get this answer. Or suppose if I say, that you have to find out NNP at market price to GDP at factor cost. How will you find out from NNP at market price to GDP at factor cost? So you have to convert, you have to move from net to gross. Since you are going from net to gross, what you have to do? You have to add depreciation. Because you're going from net to gross, so you'll add depreciation. Then the next is national to domestic. You're going from national to domestic. If you go from national to domestic, that means minus NFIA, net factor income from abroad. You deduct net factor income from abroad because you're going from national to domestic. Third is market price to factor cost. Market price to factor cost is minus net indirect taxes. So by doing these three conversions, you will get answer for this. Okay, so if they give you values and they tell you to find out in the question paper if you get these values, different values, and then they ask you to find out what will be the answer for this, what will be the value of GDP at factor cost. If they give you NNP at market price, they give you depreciation, they give you NFIA, net taxes, plus they give you some additional information. So you should be able to understand that which information is valid and which is not, and accordingly you can calculate. So this calculation you should know. Okay, so this you should understand. Then the other factors which are important for this is that what is basic price and market price. So in basic price, we include what? We include production, taxes, minus production subsidies. plus NDP at factor cost. Production at factor cost. Okay. In market price, what we add? In this, we add basic price, NDP at factor cost plus basic price plus product tax minus product subsidies. So you should understand the difference between product tax, production tax, product subsidy, production subsidies. Okay. So this is important to understand. Then you should know which are the two bodies which takes care about national income accounting, CSO and Ministry of Statistical Program and Implementation. These are two bodies. What is the significance of national income accounting? You know. Then you should know the difference between real and nominal GDP. Nominal GDP and real GDP. Real GDP is output of 2024 and price of 2011 and 12, because in India, base year is taken as 2011 and 12. Okay, so you will always take in real GDP output of the current year and the price level of the base year. In nominal GDP, what we do in nominal GDP, we take output of 2024 and we take price of 2024. Nominal GDP case. Okay, this nominal GDP is inclusive of inflation, and this real GDP excludes inflation. And to find out the impact of inflation, to the extent of inflation, we should know the concept of GDP deflator. GDP deflator is nominal GDP to real GDP into 100. If the value of GDP deflator is 135, that means what? If the value of GDP deflator is 135, what it means? It means that it means what? 135, 35% is inflation. So GDP deflator helps to know about the inflation in the economy. Okay. This is GDP deflator we have shared. If you have been asked that which year inflation rate was highest in India, so you can see here 143 is the highest value as compared to all other. So you can say in 2016, the inflation rate in India was highest. Then we have discussed final goods and intermediate goods. You know that when we define GDP, we take care about 3 parameters, or rather 4 parameters. We take only money value, we take final goods, we take during a year production of goods and services, and within India. So these are factors of GDP which is important to understand. Then intermediate good we have shared, value added we have shared. What is the difference between NDP and gross value added? When we calculate based on output method, we say it is gross value added. Okay. You know the difference between domestic and national. We have already shared. Net factor income from abroad, you know what is the concept of net factor income from abroad. Product tax, and this we have done. So we have discussed about this gross domestic product, national income, how to calculate the factor income and what is factor income. Then you should know the difference between factor income and transfer payments. Factor income and transfer payments, how these two are different. Factor payments are payments received by factors of production. This is included in national income. Transfer payments are payments received without contributing anything. And that is why these are, this is income earned. This is income not earned. This is included in private income, personal income, personal disposable income, but not included in national income, factor and transfer payments. Personal income we have shared. Undistributed profits are the profits which are part of the corporate income. Corporate tax is given from the corporate profits. Net interest payments made by households are payment received and payment made. Okay. Transfer payments to household from firms and government adds up to personal income. Personal income is income of the household. Private income is income of the corporate. Okay. So in private income, we deduct income of the government. Government income is deducted in this case. So I've already shared personal income. And this is the circular flow. This we will be sharing different methods of calculating national income in the next class. And it is based on this basic principle of circular flow. This will be output method. This will be income method. And this will be expenditure method. So there are three ways to calculate national income. Because it's a complete circle, So you can calculate by any method. National disposable income is very important for the country. Why national disposable income is important for the country? National disposable is important because it depicts about at how much country is able to spend without taking any debt obligations, without taking any debt or reducing its assets. Without reduction in assets and without taking any debt, what country can spend. This also includes transfer payments. Okay, so it includes transfer payments. Then gross and net national, you differentiate between gross and net national, reason being gross is plus depreciation and net is excluding depreciation. So that's it for today's class. Next class, we will be talking about how to calculate national income by different methods. Transfer payments include pension, yes. Okay then. Yes, yes.